Beautiful, and we're live. So
Yeah,
Fred, I don't want to spend too much time, covering your background and every little position, every little thing you've done. But I
yeah,
think it'll be a good thing to kind of like set the stage a little bit. So I'd love to hear sort of your whatever it is, your this 1 minute, 2 minute version of your background, how you got into sales, and sort of how your journey evolved over the years to where you are now, and then and I'll share a little bit about me, and then we'll take it from then explore.
yeah. No, with pleasure. I think it's always interesting to understand why people are in those positions. And clearly, I was very far from tech at the beginning. I did grow up in a farm in France, so completely far away from the tech and the AI, I would say. I did study engineering at school, and I think. Very soon I was like, I like tech, but I'm not sure I want to be in front of a computer and coding. So let's
Mm.
go and move to the sales side. And I
Mm.
moved like that. And look, I started in hardware with IBM. I started in France. I moved to Australia. Uh, I've done different job. I've done large enterprise. I've done global accounts. I've done direct on I would say channel and indirect sales. And then I moved from hardware. I think what is interesting in sales is it's a bit siloed. You've got the hardware, then you've got the software, and recently we had the cloud and the SaaS. So I tried to move, I would say, up the stack, yeah, and from hardware then to software. I moved then to AWS to be more in the cloud. And I would say I joined Aircall 4 years ago to test the SaaS business, be able
Mhm.
to speak about business outcome. I joined the APAC team. Roughly, I was recruited to build the APAC business. And bit more than a year ago, I moved to take the global, let's say, revenue function for Aircall. It's
Yeah.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. So that's interesting, from hardware, software to cloud. That's a nice little sort of like trajectory. And then also from Europe, right, from France to Australia to New York, right? That's kind of like covers quite a bit of ground in terms of cultural differences in how companies operate, how buyers buy, how people sell. I mean, France and the US definitely are very different. I don't know. I've never been to Australia. It's one of the places I'd love to visit, but my gut reaction would have placed it somewhere in the middle, probably between and a US and Europe, maybe.
Korea is a fun country because it's still like a small country in terms of population,
Mm.
but they are early adopter. On what you see in US, most likely it's going to fast track to Australia. So really, if you like tech, it's a very good country to address. So yeah,
Nice.
and the US is a different beast, and you need to be in the country to start understanding and learning about this market.
Yeah. So you've been now in New York in the US for 14 months, you said, right? You moved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you moved to take over the sales organization, or did you start somewhere else and then you took over as kind of chief sales officer at the company?
I moved to take the revenue function. So new say like when the boss got one question about the top line, very easy. He can come and see me.
He comes to talk to you. So
Yeah.
Aircall, maybe tell us a little bit about like what is the offering of the product. It's pretty well known, but for those that don't, and then the customer base, I assume it's SMB, but I'd love to understand if it's maybe very different. And then sort of the sales organization or the sales model, like,
Yep.
how does Aircall sell? How many sellers do we have? What are kind of the different functions in the revenue org?
Aircall started as an idea is to bring, I would say, your phone system into your tech stack. So roughly, it came with this principle that hey, you spend a lot of time on the phone. It's a lot of interaction, but it's sitting somewhere, and you don't bring that into your CRM, into your ticketing system. So that's how we were born like 10 years ago, as a simple dialer that is inside your tech stack. It's evolving more like towards like a communication platform. That means you can have a clear view on, I would say, how you communicate with your customer. Still with voice first, but also multi-channel engagement. So that's Aircall in a nutshell. If you look at the organization, so we are. So now let's go back perhaps for like where do we play? One thing is we are very deliberate about our ICP. We don't try, and we don't want to have a product that can fit for micro SMB and large enterprise. I think when you start doing that, then you lose a bit your way, because your product is becoming not good enough for large enterprise and too complex for SMB. So we are very targeted about SMB. Let's define SMBs from zero, let's say 1 to 500 employees. And people are, and we grow, and people are growing with us as well. So, but I think it's very important to understand that we are here to equip the disruptor of tomorrow, the SMB business that is a massive market. And roughly, we give them the tools to compete without having the resource or the technical knowledge on power internally. Around 20,000 customers. We operate in Europe, in APAC, in North America, and in Latin. So I think it's one of the strengths of Aircall is from day one, like let's go international, and let's make sure we are close to our customer. So that's why one of the I would say one of the recipes, let's have people locally. So when we decided to go on APAC, yeah, we started to look at APAC from UK, but then we said, okay, we need to be very close to our customer. It's the same thing now. For example, we are going with people in Latam because we want to be close to the ecosystem. We want to be close to our customer. Understand that, yeah, you can have global process. You can have a global mindset, but you need to have this like last 10, 15% very localized and adapt your model. In terms of org, there's one thing I did is I organize with function. So I've got pillars. I've got team in charge of what I call the XDR. So they look after the inbound and the outbound motion. Roughly, it's the first part of the sales motion. It's a qualification on finding opportunity. I've got a team of closer. That's the account executive, and their job is bring new logo. And then I've got the would say the onboarding on customers, customer success manager that are here to, I would say, help the customer to understand the value of the platform, go and help them on their business objective, on I would say help the customer on the lifetime. And I've got two, I would say cross-functional function as well. One is partnership. So we look at partnership with first we're in tech, so the ecosystem, the tech partner are very important for us. It's the more our customer integrate Aircall to their tech stack, the better value they're going to have. So we need to make sure we understand how to integrate with those people. And also we've got a channel motion where we use system integrator, reseller to really go and implement Aircall with their customer. And the last one is I've got the function of solution engineering, so very specialized on technical people. And also one thing is the go-to-market enablement. And this function is critical because it helped me to make sure the sales CSM, like the internal team, they are trained and they do understand the value of the product, but also the customer, who is like Aircall Academy, and also our partners. So I wanted to have this team integrated in the go-to-market, so they are day-to-day in contact with customer on partner on sellers.
Awesome. There's a million more questions that I have, but I wanna I wanna first highlight something that I found researching you a little bit that I instantly connected with, which was that it seemed to me that you place the center of your action and attention with the customer, right? Like customer intimacy is key, understanding our customer, being close to them, that will generate the direction of how we should make decisions, how we should go to market, how we should innovate. You said something in a video that I saw that I love, which was like a lot of companies trying to like come up with these solutions kind of in their basements, on their own, and then jump.
I was about to say again the same thing.
Yeah. And then jump out and go, surprise, look at how amazing we are. And that often, doesn't work out quite as well, versus the ones that are, obsessed about spending time, understanding, and having real proximity to the ideal customer, to who are we serving, what are their problems, how are things changing. I wanted to ask you, because that's something like being customer centric is not a radical idea. It's not something anybody will usually disagree with, but it's one of those things that every company would like to say is how they do things, and
Yeah.
most people would like to think of themselves as very customer focused. But then it seems to be very difficult to sustain and maintain, and especially as a company grows and as an org grows, it seems like there's a natural law of gravity where it becomes harder. It takes more and more energy, especially for like a leader like you, right? More and more energy to stay close to the customer and not sort of like get more and more removed from who you're trying to serve. Have you found that to be, is that something that you found to be true as well? And then what do you do as a sales leader to counter that? Do you do something, or like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Everyone is saying we are customer obsessed, but the reality is it's not so easy. And but one of my CFO was, hey, be careful, customer obsessed doesn't mean you're going to serve breakfast to them every morning. And I think it's quite true as well. It's finding the right balance between, yeah, you want to be customer obsessed, but also we've got some, I would say, reality of economy. That's something that you need to be aware of. I think first is as you grow, okay, being customer obsessed when you're 10, it's easy. You can control everyone. So it starts with the culture and making sure that when you hire in your process, it's something you test. To be fair, I learned a lot being at AWS. Customer obsession was to a next level. So when you spend like 4 years there, I mean it's inside you. So I would say the first thing is making sure you hire the people that really think like that. That think first is the customer, second is the company, and then it's myself. If you hire the right one, you got the right culture. So first, it's the most important thing. Then you've got the process. Being close on as you mentioned, what you want is you want your customer to give you the right input. So do you have the right process to gather the right feedback? Focus group, interview, jumping on demo as well. And we are lucky now because if you look at the new stack we've got, like you can record, you can review. So with AI, you can search like so many data points that it's becoming easier and easier to have the right insight from the customer. So that's one thing. The second thing as well is the customer can be an advocate. We all try to develop our brand. We all try to find new customer. The right is if you stay close and you serve well your customer, when they move, they are becoming an advocate and they help you to grow. Personally, I think I spend like 50% of, yeah, I would say 40 to 50% of my time with customer and partners. and I like listening to calls as well. I like
Mhm.
going sometime in the pipeline and just jump and say, okay, let's. I don't know. It's a good opportunity. I like the use case. Let's go. I like to do that. Like when I see like an opportunity that is interesting, a use case that is perhaps new or a new partner coming, I'm like, okay, let's go and review the video. Let's review what was the pain points, and that's helped me to guide. I would say first it helped me to train on extract some learnings to then throw them back at the team, but also having some input on the product team as well.
Yeah. So, you mentioned this already a little bit, which is, hey, today we have such amazing tools where you don't have to go back and listen to a 60-minute call and invest 60 minutes to listen to everything that was said. You can get a summary, you can jump into parts of the conversation that are most interesting and sort of get the highlights and the tidbits. So we're way more efficient in listening, learning, remembering, collecting information about people. But there's also with that tool set sometimes comes, I don't know, maybe shiny object syndrome or distraction. There's a lot of talk about AI, and it's very easy to get excited. And then sometimes in a hype market like now, there's also very easy to get completely distracted or anxious and stressed out as people read more and more about all the wonderful and incredible things AI will take over and do. And I know that everybody's thinking about this. Nobody has all the answers, but I'm curious about your philosophy right now when it comes to, hey, when your sales team, what you mandate or encourage your sales team to take advantage of when it comes to AI and AI tools that already exist. What are the things maybe you discourage if there's such a thing? And what are sort of the questions or anxieties from the sales floor that you have to deal with? Maybe there are none. I'm just curious a little bit how that topic is sort of how you think about that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think everyone was scared a few months ago, and now we see more and more like a tailwind than a headwind. Mm. There are a few things. One, what you mentioned about the tool, it's crazy. Like every single day, there's a new tool on AI helping you to do that. And I think it's something that I spend a lot of time with my direct report is don't think a tool is going to save the world. It's just, can you first design the process, design what you want to do? Then let's go and look at the market if there is a tool who can help us to do that. But I think sometimes we've got this kind of like the wrong model. We start with, hey, let's go and use this tool and try to build around. That's completely wrong. Is I would say first define how you want to build your business, define your process, then look at the system you can use. Yes, some system will help you to automate 2 tasks, 3 tasks, 5 tasks. But that's the way to think about the new the tool in general, and perhaps a bit more about AI. When I look at AI, we've got this strong point of view, especially in sales, that it helps you to be more productive. It, it helps you to remove the boring task. It's not replacing you first. You still. Funny, I was speaking with a VC that told me that last time, and I was like, yeah, makes sense. We still buy from people, and as a buyer, you're not ready to speak to an AI. So until we replace the buyer, but that means the buyer puts him out of the job, he will not want to deal with pure AI. And we've seen that as well a bit in all those, like we with AI, you can personalize email. So a few years ago, when you were personalizing an email, you were stand out. No, I received like 20 personalized emails saying, hey, congratulations for your move to New York. and hey, you hire BDR. So I think it's, the human touch is still very important on I see AI as a copilot. I do see how it can help the productivity, like the fact that now you can have a scorecard. So think about a BDR and SDR, they do their call on, then they can coach themselves because they've got the tool to do that. So roughly, I do think that people that are curious and that are good, now we are giving them the tool to go to the next level and not wait for the manager to review 20,000 calls. So the AI is helping us to do that. So if you're good, if you want to spend time, you can do that. Um, Same, it helping you to take notes, make the summary. You can send that, or you can just take that, remember what you've said, and then send. But you save time. So it's really like for me, it's a lever for productivity increase than replacing completely the sales team.
Yeah, there's a lot of good points in there. It's funny how like I've always thought once you replace the seller and the buyer, right, and it's just AI. I have an AI that makes all decisions, buying decisions for me. You have an AI that's trying to sell, and they just talk to each other and optimize what needs to be bought and sold. Then we're out of the game, right? Then we're like completely
Yeah,
out of the game. But until that happens, humans will have a role. And I'm coming to more and more sort of the conviction that people that want to be part of the world, we want to be part of the economic, reality of the world. And it's a question of like, what part can we uniquely play that is value in ways that are hopefully fulfilling and productive, right? How can we contribute? Because I don't think people even if we replaced everything with AI and everybody can just live off not doing anything, I think that we would try to find work, right? We would try to find something to do to contribute. And so it's like, where can humans contribute in a unique way and use technology to get leverage? Now, one interesting question that comes with that is sort of this idea that's floating around about like, we've had like, software made things more efficient. As software got better and better, like we got more and more productive, things scaled more and more. Now you didn't have to, go and knock from door to door. You could call people from everywhere. Then you could email. Then you could email one too many, right? Then you could schedule even emails. So you're now working 24/7 and like,
yep.
and follow up multiple times. So the scale goes up in terms of what one individual can do. And with AI, maybe it makes another massive leap. And then it's like you have this idea of the $1 billion business, right? Which is sort of, we see this more and more where there's like,
Yeah, you're right.
we see
Yeah,
this, in one individual media empire, right? Like the Joe Rogan, but there are many, like the individual that has a big audience or that has a lot of scale and a lot of reach. And you see this idea of small company, 1, 2 people, maybe with 100 million in revenue. How does that play into the salesperson of the future that has that crazy scale? Like, and I don't know the answer, but it's something that I'm like pondering and wondering about.
I mean, if you go, it's funny what you were saying because think about that. So now you can start a company with less people. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you need less funding as well. So then we don't need any more the VC because you don't, no, but you see what I mean is
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about
yeah.
that because you don't need to, because it's true. You're going to enhance and I would say accelerate the sales motion, but also you've got all the AI coming on the development side. So when previously you need fund to build your product, so hire developer a lot and build a strong go-to-market. Now with AI, perhaps you need less people. If you need less people, you need less money. So you need less VC as well. So it's quite interesting to see all those motion currently going on.
Yeah. One, one interesting question. I was talking to an owner of a marketing agency in LA,
Mhm.
and they're quite tech focused. They have a lot of big tech clients. And I would say they're sort of on the more sophisticated side in terms of how much technology they even use internally to run the agency, to run processes, to communicate with clients. And one interesting thing that he was telling me about was sort of like one of his outlooks was, well, he was saying, I think we're going to need less people working in a marketing agency in the future, but every single person is going to be significantly more strategic and
Mhm.
paid a lot more and more valuable. And maybe, you have 4 or 5 strategists, and a lot of the detailed pre and post work, and a lot of the coordination, a lot of the data, a lot of the manual data entry, a lot of the little things will be automated, but then there's a person that just does strategy, the high level strategy that looks at the data and corrects direction. And then a few people are really, really, really valuable, but we just don't need as many anymore. Like we don't need
Mhm.
a huge amount of people that lift the load of work. But we have sort of these hyper valuable, very strategic marketers in an agency. And I was trying to play around with that thought in terms of the sales world, right? Because we have in many modern sales organizations today, especially in tech and in SaaS, you have sort of more the assembly line model of them. Sometimes it's the pod model, but you have like the SDR, BDR, you have the
Yep.
AE, and then you have like maybe an account manager or success manager. That's sort of the life cycle of the customer. And I think the most nervousness I see, and the most question, either excitement from VCs or nervousness from people in the market, is sort of at the beginning of the cycle, right? The SDR,
Yep.
BDR, prospecting, sending cold emails, making that first call, collecting the data, and passing on sort of a warm opportunity. Is that the first bit that we can like chop away at, and we don't need as big teams, or is there again a chance to differentiate with a more human touch, with more connection there? Like, what are the things that you're seeing or hearing, or how do you think about that?
There are two things. You Sometimes we use the SDR because we've got a lot of inbound leads, but not of them are good quality. So AI can help you to really with the right scoring to say, hey, you know what? All those leads will go to an AI agent. Those one, you know, for now we still go for like an SDR because okay, we know there's high intent, they are like good lead scoring. So then roughly what you do is it helping you to better address your customer. That's one thing. For the BDR, it's the same. Is instead of spending time to research the account and having a lot of admin tasks, they can focus on what they do. Is roughly taking meetings on I would say going with some calls that are more targeted. That's what you can see long term as well. You can see that hey, you need perhaps less SDR, less BDR, but you still have perhaps more leads coming. So you need roughly you move those headcount towards more like AI,
AEs.
account executive, AEs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you know it's exactly what you were saying is like in marketing the low task you move that to perhaps AI, but then it free up your time on enough money as well to invest on more strategic people that will help you to grow. Because at the end of the day, we all trying to do one thing is grow our business. And we don't have like infinite resource or infinite money. So AI is helping us to roughly have the right economics in one place to be able to reinvest this amount of money or headcount in growth somewhere.
Yeah. So what is the thought? And I don't know about the use case of Aircall for most customers. Would you say that a big chunk of it is customer communication for the customers that buy Aircall to do for the sales team to do VoIP calling with prospects? Is that a big use case? Is it mostly phone support, or is it all over the place?
50-50.
50-50, yeah.
We address the sales use case, so people are buying our solution to uh, communicate on their sales team to communicate with their customers. So it's more like an outbound motion. On people are using us as well for the support, so level 1, level 2. But what is funny is when you think about micro SMB or like first years of a company, it's to communicate. So it's to be able to call on send message to a customer, but also receive. So it's when you're a bit smaller, support and sales are blended. It's just being here for your customer. It's winning and keeping your customer. The more you go toward higher SMB, that's where they start having like a pure sales motion on a support motion.
Do you see any, the cold calling is dead. This has been, as long as I've been doing sales calls for like 30 years now, every 5 years, there was a reason why it's dead. But there is, I mean, and I've been one of the first people in 2010, 2011. I was one of the first people running around in Silicon Valley trying to convince startups to call and to cold call customers, right? So I've written a book about it. Like I was always a proponent of, pick up the phone, call somebody, connect with them. Can be, it's not, everything is not about scalability and doing something that just automatically generates money. Like you just do the work, talk to people. But I do know, I have to admit, although I still find calling super powerful, and one of the things that we do is when people sign up for our product, we call them, and it's still a surprise for people. It's still a delight for people. Sometimes they tell us, "I bought your product because none of your competitors, called within a couple of minutes of signing up." It's still something. It's so simple that can make you sort of stand out and differentiate. But I also hear the other side of the argument where people are like, I'm never picking up the phone anymore. Just like if I don't know you, I don't pick up. And you got the sort of spam warning on your phone and the call. And by now we also like, I at least recognize I'm getting all these phone calls from area codes that I lived. And I'm like, pretty certain these people think I still live there, right? They do the sort of the local ID. So there's a lot more defense mechanisms against a call from a source that I don't know and don't expect. But you guys are much more in that world. I'm curious, do you see similar patterns? Do you worry about this? Do you see a totally different pattern? What is the sort of place of the, let's say, phone call specifically to connect with a customer, either inbound or outbound? Maybe it works more for support, but not as much for sales, or has it never changed? What do you think about that?
I think it's multi-channel. So what we see with your customer, it depends as well. If your customer is a B2C, is a B2B, on the value of what they are selling. But let's pick an example of like a B2B company. The phone call is going to be part of a cadence, but it's quite important to know at what time you need to call on it by having the right intent on knowing. But yeah, you're right. You perhaps you don't pick up the first time, but if you follow with an SMS, I sent you a few emails you reply to my email, but you didn't reply to my phone call, so I will try again. It's just making sure you build the trust as well. On your right, like we had so many people doing spam that the trust is broken on the phone sometimes. So you need to be able to have like a more like a holistic approach, multi-channel approach to make sure people is going to pick the phone. That's for outbound. For inbound, people pick up the phone. They've got the intent. Most of them, but I will go back to that. But most of them, yeah, they are happy that you pick up the phone and you say, hey, you were looking at that on my my website. So can we speak on a? But again, you need to be able to have the right information that there's an intent on this individual is not just browsing. Because if they're browsing, they're not going to answer. They're like, nah. And I do that sometimes. I go and I want to play with these tools. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, come on, don't call me. So it's also making sure that it's back to really understand your customer, having more and more data about them. That, yeah, if you call them, and by the way, if they know it's Aircall, yeah, they're going to answer because they were on my website and they did populate a form. So it's a bit different.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so my last question for today for you
Yeah.
connects back to how we started the conversation. So you mentioned that you grew up in a farm, right?
Yeah.
Very different from tech sales. But I heard you say how it taught you two really important things. One is to be humble, and the other one is to be patient. Now, I find
Yeah.
both these things, both of these traits, very desirable and very important. But I want to focus on the patient one because it's not necessarily what people would associate with the chief sales officer in a high-tech company in New York, right? I'm overplaying it a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like if I give somebody these three tags and they would have to pick, impatient or patient, they would probably lean towards highly impatient,
Yeah.
highly aggressive.
Yeah. You
So,
know, it's true.
so tell me, please, tell me about why patience is something that's important to you and how you think of patience in the context of selling specifically.
For me, the patient is you can think about patient like you think about long-term strategy. So, if you go in one direction, don't expect to have the result from day one. Like be patient and make sure you've got the right measurement, but it's going to take time. It's a difference between paid and brain. Paid is short term. Brand is long term on give you the better result. Uh, when you say I'm going to go after this specific vertical, okay, you need to build your brain, you need to build trust. On if you're completely unrealistic about the expectation, then you're going to take the wrong decision because you're going to stop. But people needs to ramp up. People needs to know your value. So I think it's that. It's
Mm.
things takes time. I'm impatient in something like in day-to-day activity, in I would say speed of execution. That's where I've got less patience, I would say, and I
Mm.
want I want I want people to move fast. The point is, sometimes we need to understand that it's going to take time to build something strong. The tech team is not going to deliver a product in 2 weeks. Okay, on you can, but I don't want to see this product. So that's something very important. It's being able to balance the long term goal on be patient about them, on the short term execution, and be I would say ruthless about the execution on the level of speed.
I love it. Love it. Well, I love the conversation, Fred. I feel like we're kindred spirits. I don't know. There's a lot of
Yeah,
like
we
a
could
lot
we
of
could we could keep going.
yeah, which is one of my favorite things that happens to me, at least, is when a conversation comes to an end because of time constraint, and I'm bummed about it. I'm like, no, I feel like we said hello. I have a million more things I'd like to discuss with
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
That's where magic happens, and I'm like, okay, well, one of the mindsets I've adopted early and has really benefited me incredibly. I've been long enough around to understand long-term thinking and the benefits of compounding relationships. Is that I think in every relationship in decades, right? So like when I meet somebody and I feel like there's a great connection, I'm like, all right, next 30 years, how much can we learn from each other? How much can we help each other? It's really the quality of those relationships and investing in them for a long time that eventually make sort of life so rich and full and exciting. And so it was a pleasure and honor to get to know you.
No,
I can't
thank
believe
you.
we haven't known each other for much longer.
Yeah.
But now that we know each other, we'll stay in touch. And please, if there's anything in the short, mid, or long term ever that I can do to help, to discuss, to chat about, or to be a resource, please let me know. I thought the conversation there was super delightful.
No, with pleasure, with pleasure. How do you see voice? Because you see voice as a channel as well in your day-to-day job
Yeah, so
and
we're
in your
very
solution as well.
yeah. We are super bullish. We're super bullish on voice, but we are seeing all kinds of all kinds of challenges with it as well. So it's not sort of like a pure straight up. I think that what we've seen used a lot more aggressive, where we've seen a lot more growth has been on the text message side in the
Yeah.
kind of communication stack. That's been a lot more aggressive growth, especially over the last year or two, than voice.
Mm.
And so we see a great hunger and a lot more success and a lot more sort of like scale there. And I think that voice is going to have to kind of keep reinventing itself. I think that a lot of companies move into sort of a either inbound model or an outbound model that's way warmer than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I think also there's a great delay of what's happening in certain industries, right? Like when you think of me as a tech buyer, the kind of emails, calls, the kind of the way I'm being sold to and what I will protect myself against and how I will respond is very different when you go into other industries that are
Yeah.
maybe low tech. There, things will work out very differently. So I don't know. I think we still believe that the call is not going away anytime soon, but we also are keeping sort of eyes and ears open to sort of imagine, how is it evolving? Is it evolving? Where does it play a bigger and a smaller role? And which I agree with you, not thinking of it as an isolated thing, email as an isolated thing, but thinking about sort of the entire way of how people communicate in a mix and how will that sort of evolve. And I don't know, I think there's some industries where it's less and less useful to do just raw outbound calling. And then there's other industries of people I talk to where I'm surprised how simple their model is and how effective it still works, because you call certain people and they all pick up the phone, right? Just because the way they run their business or their life, it doesn't matter if they recognize the phone number or not. So yeah, I think I believe the phone call and pure voice is not going away in the next 10 years. But I do think it'll look a little bit differently 5-10 years from now than today. And exactly how, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Yeah.
I agree. We're going to see some change as well in this space.
Absolutely. Well,
Cool.
Fred, thank you so much for
No, thank you very
taking the
much.
call, and
Yeah.
we'll stay in touch. We'll talk hopefully soon.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.